The Paul Leslie Interviews.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our extreme pleasure to welcome the one and only Steve Lukather. How's it going?
Hey, man. It's going great, man. I'm just up having coffee, getting my, doing my morning stuff that I always do. Feeling good.
That's good. It reminds me of the first time we did an interview. I said I had this big elaborate introduction for you about all your accomplishments, and you said, I'm just sitting here having a cup of coffee scratching my nuts.
Well, that's pretty much what's going on right now.
Who is Steve Lukather?
I don't know, man. He's a much different guy than he used to be, but I don't know, man. I'm inside my own skin. You can't ask me that. It's a work in progress. That's who I am.
Let's go back kind of a few years. What was life like in the Lukather household growing up?
Mom and dad, you mean?
Yeah, what was the household like?
My dad was on the road a lot. He was behind the camera in the movie business and television. So he'd go on, do films for 3 months at a time. My mom was great. She was very supportive of what I did, and I had a happy household. My sister's great. I just played my music and BS'd my way through school, and it was a happy household.
Tell us about your father buying you Meet the Beatles, the album.
Well, in all fairness, it was both my parents. It was my present for my 7th birthday. I got a guitar and a copy of Meet the Beatles, which forever has changed my life. And it's funny. I got a CD version of it and put it in my car. I got to tell you, these old records sound better on vinyl. They were never meant to be on CDs. You hear all the little weird flaws, edits, and punches and stuff like that. There was a warmth to the vinyl and the way it was mixed for that. But those are my fondest childhood memories. That was the on switch to my whole life. I never thought later in life, all those years later, I'd work with Paul McCartney and hang with George Harrison and stuff like that. If you'd have told me that when I was a kid, I would have screamed, But life has a way of giving you the unobvious, that's for sure.
Well, that's the truth. You seem to have been influenced by blues rock guitar players as well as the jazz guitarists like Larry Carlton. Could you say you prefer one style?
I am enamored by every style when it comes to virtuosity. I'm inspired by greatness, and there's a lot of it out there. There's people that just make me laugh. From bluegrass to classical musicians to metal guys to the shredders to beboppers. I'm a fan of all of it, and I think it's important. I've always kept a really open mind about all that stuff. I like a good pop song as much as anybody. You know what I mean? But where do I lie? I think I fall in the cracks everywhere because I can. Like yesterday, I was doing an Americana record with Rodney Crowell and all these really cool guys and solos and vocals, and everything was live, no click tracks. Then I can go to the most technical sessions where it's all about the Pro Tools and editing and all this other stuff. So I kind of just feel comfortable everywhere. I'm lucky. After 35 years in, I can kind of morph myself into whatever needs to be done that day and enjoy the hell of it.
Could you pick one biggest guitar influence? Is that possible?
Well, George Harrison was my first guitar hero, and then he was a friend. It all started there. But then there's so many incredible players. Gosh. Hendrix, Jeff Beck, Clapton, Page, that was the first, all those guys started all the wow guitar, you know what I mean? And then we go on, from that moment forward to all the great virtuosos up till now and all the styles, and I've studied all of them, or as many of them as I can get my hands on. I would say if you put all that in a blender and turned it on, that's me.
Wow. We're talking with Steve Lukather. Is anything going on in the Toto world right now?
Yeah, actually, we're getting ready to go on the road. Mike Porcaro has ALS, which is a debilitating disease, and he's paralyzed in a bed. And there's no happy ending to that one, man. It's another brother of down, man. It's, my friend since I was 15 years old. Those guys are like a second family to me at Porcaro. David Page came to me and said, we had broken up. I was done with it because it ran its course. And that was about 4 or 5 years ago. And then all of a sudden, David called me and said, we should do something. And to help Mike, because as a bass player, he didn't write a lot of the songs, and the internet kind of stole a lot of our mailbox money away. So we said, okay, I'll go out, but I want Steve Porcaro back, and I want Joseph Williams to sing, because he was a high school friend. People don't really realize that, and he has an incredible voice. His voice is still strong, really stronger than it ever was. And so on that level, then we got Simon Phillips, Nathan East, a couple of background singers, and we went out and put our feet in the water last year and had a tremendous response in Europe. We were doing 30,000 people and stuff like that, freaking out. All of a sudden, there's this whole resurgence of this music. And we raised some money for Mike, and then 4 of us are going through like midlife divorce with second, kids and stuff like that. So we're helping Mike and helping ourselves, and there's a big demand for this. I mean, Africa is number 8 on the iTunes USA charts, which really freaked us out. That was hilarious. And we got sold out arena tours in Europe, Japan, and South America, and we may do some dates. Maybe for a month or so, a year, we might get together and play some gigs. We're not fully reforming. We're just having fun with it and helping out brothers, all of us and our brother Mike, mostly, And so as long as it's fun, great, because everybody has solo careers and or other projects, television, film. Dave's kind of semi-retired. Everybody does other stuff. So, I mean, we go out and we have fun. It's like going to summer camp with my high school brother.
Do you think there will ever be, by chance, maybe another Toto album?
No, I think we're done. I want to say never to cut another track again, but I don't think that we're going to be able, with the record business being what it is and the way we make records, I mean, there's no point in it. First off, when people come see us live, they really want to hear the old stuff. We got 17 albums to choose from besides the obvious hits. So we could go out and play different album cuts forever and not really repeat ourselves. I mean, we take 6 months to make a record the way we like to do it, and there's no money in it. And as you get older, do you want to live in the recording studio? I mean, I make my solo records. I'm going to have new music for myself. Other guys do stuff on their own, but it's more cost effective to do that. It's hard to explain it to you.
Yeah.
I don't think I think we're not reforming to do that. We're kind of doing a live show every once in a while to play the hits and remember the good old times and have a laugh.
Well, I got to tell you, the last studio album, Falling in Between, that opening, the leading title track, that is just such an awesome cut.
I think we left it with a really good record. Great reviews, sold really well. I think we made our statement.
I wanted to talk about your latest solo album. The title kind of reminds me of Shakespeare. What inspired the title?
It is Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It's my life. At the time, I'm coming out of a really dark period of my life. I was going through a divorce, second divorce. I had a new child, which was wonderful. That was a good part. I'm done there. I got 4 kids. My mother died. We sold our childhood home. I quit drinking and smoking. I got a shrink. My shrink died last week. I mean, it's like, wow, I've been through a tough lot. I've had to relook at myself, refocus and restart my life. So I cleaned up everything that was wrong in my life. And that has been quite a journey. I was going through a lot of pain when I was writing that record, and I wrote almost all those words myself. I'm really proud of the record. It's done really, really well. Best reviews of my career, and sold well. My solo tour is selling out, and I'm feeling really confident as a player. I've reinvented myself. I'm using all organic gear. I got rid of all the racks and all the crazy stuff. I'm really motivated. I'm really healthy. I run 3 miles a day. I eat well. I lost 25 pounds. I got the gleam in my eyes back. I practice for an hour or 2 every morning. It's a restart of my life, and I feel great. I'm friends with my ex. I see my kids every day. There's no bad vibes. You know what I mean? I'm trying to clean up any bad vibe in my life. Tell
us about that opening cut, Darkness in My World.
Well, that's how I felt at the time. I was writing a very autobiographical record. If you listen to the words of it, you'll feel the pain that I'm going through in real time. When I was doing that record, writing it and singing it, I was really feeling like I was being closed in. And like I said, it was a labor of love. Went through a lot to make it. And, I'm really proud of how it comes out. It's really fun to play live, too.
Was it a therapeutic process for you to write these songs and to make this album?
Well, I suppose so. Some of it was really hard to sing. Don't Say It's Over is a really hard one. Because I was writing that when I was on the road. Before it all fell apart, I was just on the road and getting some agonizing phone calls. And I would just write down how I felt, and then it would go from there. You know what I mean?
It seems like it's more of a lyrical album than some of your other solo albums. Are you enjoying lyric writing more?
I'm getting more confident about it. I'm at the age now where, ooh, baby, I love you, and let's party just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I wish I was in love, but at the same time, I'm looking at life after 35 years on the road. I'm raising, 2 children are already out. My oldest is 26 and my youngest is 6 months. So I've kind of got a full range in there. And I'm looking at the world, what's going on with that, and pretty saddened by the state of it all. Who do you look to for leadership at this point? You know what I mean? You got to look within. And so that's the journey we're all really on. I mean, I don't want to get political, but I mean, when I sing songs about the world, it's generalized, because I don't. As soon as you start getting right or left, you're going to lose half your audience, and I don't want to do that. I'm not a preachy sort of guy. I can't go out on stage and pull a Bono on everybody, As much as I dig you too, I think sometimes it gets a bit much. It's like, okay, bud, we get it, I want to forget about that crap for 2 hours, not have it thrown down my throat. But some people can get away with that. He can do that. I don't think I can do that. I just want to go out and entertain people. My lyrics, people are touched by them, then they're touched by them, because I think people can relate to pain at this time in their lives and also in the world.
The album seems to be split into 3 parts. How did you get that idea?
I wasn't aware that I consciously did that.
No?
No one's ever said that to me before. If it does feel that way, it was done subconsciously.
Well, do you have a favorite song from the album?
They're all, do I have a favorite child? I mean, there are moments that I'm moved by, but like I said, once I finish a record, I don't really listen to it, because I put all my heart and soul into it, meticulously go through all of it. And then when it goes out, I listen to the final product a few times, or if I have to learn a song off of it or something like that, but then I let it go out to the universe, and I leave it to other people to pick their favorite songs.
Well, I really like that track, the final track, Tumescent. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
That was a fun track. That was that's an example where technology actually kind of works. We wrote that in the studio, just jamming bits and pieces together. We edited things together, and then we relearned the whole piece and played it. It was just, I wanted to write a band instrumental. I enjoy writing instrumental music for ourselves, and include the band in songwriting, so they get a little taste off the record. Makes it feel more like a unit. It's also fun stuff to play live. I like to pace the show. It's good to have like a couple of tunes to jam on, let the voice rest. When you're doing 5 or 6 in a row, you kind of need that.
We're talking with Steve Lukather. We don't have time to list all the artists you've worked with, but if it was ever possible, could you pick a favorite?
Oh, man, that's really difficult, because you're talking about 1,500 records over 35 years with every major star, every hero that I ever had, just about. So, yeah, that's an incredibly difficult task. But, obviously, like I said before, when you start with the Beatles, you end up working with one. That's pretty much of a trip. Jeff Beck, Miles Davis. There's just, Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Clapton, Elton John, Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson. All sorts of cool stuff like that. I mean, it's hard to say, really. I mean, you have to view the discography on my website, and that's not even full. That's just a partial discography. So it's kind of a trip to look at it from that point of view. I never really think about it, but it's been one hell of a journey.
When someone listens to your music, whether they're hearing you in a performance or if they're listening to your albums, what do you want them to get out of the experience of listening?
Feel something. There's so much popular music that's so derivative, it sounds the same, you know what I mean? And I like to throw some chord changes in there that are not obvious, try stuff that makes people perk their head up, and maybe a lyric or a melody that touches them, moves them in some sort of a way. That's the goal. Maybe some really good playing if they like that, try to balance it all out.
I made a promise that I would ask you about working with the Tubes.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like?
Well, we started in 1980. The first thing I wrote with them was Talk to You Later. It was me, Fee, and David Foster. And I've retained a lifelong friendship with Fee. Matter of fact, I just heard from him yesterday. And I learned a lot working with Foster early on, We were very, very close back in the 70s and the 80s, and did a lot of great, hundreds of records together. And really, I learned a lot from him, and that was, we had a really great run there. And I also worked, we wrote She's a Beauty together. I played on those two things. I even played bass on Talk to You Later. The bass player was pissed off that I was playing on the record. He refused to play on it, so I played on it. He and I are still really close buds. And as a matter of fact, he wrote a couple songs on my new record. He's always written with me. Through those years, we've always had a great writing and friendship relationship.
Out of all the guitars you've played, could you pick your favorite?
Oh, well, that's hard to say. Obviously, I have a 59 Les Paul that's worth $1 grillion. That was a favorite for a long time. I even have pictures of George Harrison playing it with me.
Amazing.
So having a little Beatle history on a guitar, besides it being on so many hit records, from Beat It to, all the Toto stuff, I could go on and on about the history of that guitar. I got a 51 Esquire, but I don't really play that one that much, but it's very valuable. Obviously, all my Music Man guitars I have a new Luke Mach 3 coming out, which is going to be a little bit different, but those guitars have sold and done really well for me, and I just love the company. I love the quality of the instruments and the sound of them. So I would have to say those are my favorite at this particular juncture.
What is the best thing about being Steve Lukather?
God, how can you ask me a question like that? You know what? Okay, got a lot of love in my world from my children. I'm living the dream that I had when I was a little kid. And I'm healthy, and I feel great, and I'm very blessed and thankful to have this wonderful career of 35 years, which is hard to believe that it's that long, but I guess that's it, man. I get to go out, I mean, they pay me to play the guitar and see the world. It's not a bad gig if you can get it, you know.
You've certainly had an amazing life. I have...
Never dull, my friend. There's a little pain involved in it, but, you know, at the same time, what's the guy to do, you know?
I have two final questions for our guest, Steve Lukather. One is lighthearted and one is a little more serious. What is your all-time favorite meal?
Ooh. Wow, man, that's another thing. That's the last of my quote-unquote vices, you know. Food, great food. And I'm one of those guys that, you know, when I travel, I like to eat whatever the local food is, whatever country I'm in, whatever the best is. I seek it out. Some of my friends are chefs. I'm a big fan of sushi, great, but I find the best places. You know, I find these weird little places that off the beaten path. Obviously, what can I say, man? I'm a foodie.
Couldn't pick one.
Oh God, you know, I tell you, great. About a year and a half ago, I went on this little clinic tour with Kenny Aronoff in Italy, man, and they took us. There was a whole restaurant hang. I've had some of the most amazing meals. I was just like, you got to be kidding me every time. I mean, these people will come out and pick the vegetables out of their gardens, you know, go fishing for the fish and make the pastas and the breads and the desserts from scratch. Insane. So, I mean, I'm a big Italian food guy. I mean, but I like anything that's great, you know. I've got a pretty open mind these days.
My last question for Steve Lukather. You have fans all over the world. For anyone who's listening to this interview, what would you like to say to them?
Thank you very much. I mean, without the people supporting me and my various projects through the years, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't be able to take care of my family and live my dreams. So really, I owe everything to the audience and the friends that come out to see us play and see me play. And God bless you all, man. I hope you come out and see me again. I hope to see you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Lukather. Thanks so much, Luke.
No problem, man. Thank you for your time.
All right, take it easy.
Bye-bye now.